morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending where you are. I am very glad today to introduce you this event of Mantova Architettura that is very important because we have the directors of 4 firms that are among the most interesting ones in the cultural contemporary scenery in China. The first event today is with the 2 firms based in Shanghai. We have Liu Yichuan from Atelier Deshaus. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And we are waiting for Zhang Bin from Atelier Z+. In the second event, instead, we have 2 firms based in Beijing, Donggong for Vector Architects and Xu Tiantian from DNA Design and Architecture. We are going to introduce them quickly at the beginning of each lecture. Now, instead, I would like to introduce the theme, the red thread that connects the 4 lectures. That is the relationship between architecture and the fluvial landscape in the Chinese design scenery of these last years. China is a country where the relationship with the rivers is very important, both in the urban and in the rural areas. And this regards every kind of river, from the biggest waterways, among them the Yangtze River, that is the 4th longest in the world with more than 6,000 kilometers, to the little ones that as dense webs radiate also over the fabric of the biggest cities. We are going to talk about 4 projects, one for each firm, followed by a synthetic presentation of their other activities. They are in different places, 2 in Shanghai, 1 in Guangxi in southern China, 1 in Lishui between Shanghai and Fuzhou. And they are different from the functional and typological point of view. A series of industrial sites along the Huangpu River, a system of service stations conceived as urban infrastructures, a hotel in a former sugar mill built in 1960, and a leisure and a sports center. They are different, but they share a relationship that is symbolic or perceptive, that is direct or indirect, with the river. For the students, this is a topic that here in Mantova we deepened in many occasions. In the book Architecture in Shanghai, History, Culture, Identity, published in 2019 and that I sent to our guests, where you find several essays, among them the one by Professor Zhanlong Zhang from the Tongji University about the requalification of the riverfronts in Shanghai, and the one by Tony Giannone from the University of Adelaide just about the work of Atelier Deshaus, in particular the Long Museum. And then on the magazine Casabella, instead, in 2019, again, you can find an issue devoted to several architects from Shanghai with 2 projects along the Huangpu River, one by Original Design Studio and one by Liu Yuyang, who was guest in Mantova Architettura in 2019. Now we are following a kind of geographic order. So today we start from Shanghai and In the next event, we are going to talk about the two firms based in Beijing. And so we are going to present the work of Atelier Deshaus with Liu Yichuan and Atelier Z Plus with Zhang Bing. For Atelier Deshaus, the presentation today will regard two projects along the Huangpu River, a walkway whose importance doesn't stand in the dimension. The Huangpu River is about 100 kilometers long, but in its being the line of division of a big city as Shanghai, and in its being interested in these years by a very complex intervention for the requalification of its fronts. The first project we are going to talk about is by Liu Yichuan and Atelier Deshaus. Liu Yichuan is the partner and the principal architect of the firm. He is also guest professor of the College of Architecture and Urban Planning at the Tongji University, and is in the editorial board of the journal The Architect and Architectural Journal. The works by Atelier Deshaus, the firm was established in 2001, actually include a series of waterfront renovation projects along the Huangpu River in Shanghai, such as the Long Museum West Bund that we visited in 2017 during the 5th edition of the Tab Design Workshop, organized by the Tongji University itself, by the University of Adelaide, and by our school, the seat of Mantova of Politecnico di Milano. Then the Shanghai Modern Art Museum and its walkways, the renovation of the silos on Minsheng Wharf in front of the new public spaces designed by Liu Yuyang that we told was our guest in 2019, the West Bund Art Center, and the Riverside Passage. They are projects of infrastructures, spaces for culture, spaces for education, where we can recognize an approach based on a simple but refined volumetric composition, an attitude to experimentation in the construction field, conceiving the structure not only as a device for supporting, but also an element of recognizability and characterization, the use of concrete as a fundamental tool for creating the compositional variations on the facades and in the design of the structural elements. Today the presentation will start talking about the microcosm of the urban waterfront regeneration of the Huangpu River, where the industrial remains were transformed in the post-Expo period into new public urban spaces devoted to the citizens, and for showing us the features and the goals of this project, we are very glad to host Liu Yichuan, thanking him again for the availability and for being with us today.
Thank you, Matteo, for the introduction. Good morning, and here good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to take part in the lecture events of the Mantova Architecture Festival. Today's topic is a riverfront, so I will talk about several industrial regeneration projects along the Huangpu River by Atelier Deshaus in Shanghai. Shanghai is one of the largest megacities in China, located where the Yangtze River meets the East Sea. This area, named as the Yangtze River Delta Zone, is the densest part of water network in China. Shanghai is located on the floodplain of the Yangtze River Delta, where the white color shows. Huangpu River is its core urban river, just like the Thames in London, the Seine in Paris. On the left side of the Huangpu River is the central area of Shanghai, and on the right is the Pudong district. Huangpu River used to be the most important shipping channel of Shanghai. After 2010 Shanghai Expo, some of the factories, wharves, and warehouses moved to further part of the city. Huangpu River gradually turned from a riverfront of production to a riverfront of the urban life. This part along the west side of the river is now called westbound. It is an example of how Shanghai pushed forward the urban regeneration process by improving urban regeneration process, by improving urban spatial qualities with the intervention of art and cultural space. It shares a lot in common with the development of South Bank in London, such as transforming industrial architecture into art museums and cultural buildings to drive urban regeneration. This image shows the Xuhui Riverfront and Pudong Riverfront across. Before the 2010 Shanghai Expo, the Expo pavilions were still under construction, and up close is the former Cow Wharf, which name is Beipiao Cow Wharf, where the Long Museum westbound now lies. This is the Long Museum westbound we started working on at the end of 2011. Across the river are the pavilion of 2010 Shanghai Expo. When we started this project, a two-story of underground car parking surrounding the coal uploading bridge was already built 2 years ago. However, the coal hopper uploading bridge was preserved. It's around 100 meters long and 8 meters wide. What makes me interested in is that even though the hopper has lost its function of transporting coal, we can still read from its structure to see the body of the trains and how the coal was transported here. I think that using is making. The meaning of the structure is suddenly suspended as the function is removed. This somehow represents the density of an architecture in the future. If a city is willing to preserve these structures without a function, it means that the architecture has to prove a value beyond its use, but it starts exactly from functional purpose. We had to design an art museum on such a site. Traditional art museums originate from places and villas, and this layout of going from room to room has always been a standard pattern of museums. I came to realize that what paintings and artworks are attached to are walls, but not rooms. It is possible to have a more flexible layout. So we come up with a space with independent walls where people can roam and around to see the exhibitions. Walls are built from the existing basement, which is designed as an 8.4 times 8.4 meters column grid for standard car parking. Actually, the walls are each made of two pieces of walls. They clamp the old frame structure and grow upwards, expanding into individual, what we call it, vault umbrella structures. They group with one another till they cover all the exhibition space. The void in between the walls, the pink part shows, is for mechanical equipment. Of course, there are many ways to combine the walls. Finally, we decided on layout with diverse spaces that are symmetrical, rotational, or diagonal. The fluidity of space is always important, and it is the simplicity of this very structure resulting from various intentions that builds up an analogy with the existing coal hoppers on the site. The coal hopper uploading bridge guides the way from the city towards the waterfront public space. This is the west facade, and the north side of the building. The coal hopper became the symbol of the main entrance. This is the main entrance hallway and the coal uploading bridge. This is the main exhibition hall. The left picture shows an exhibition called 1199 Persons, which was curated by artist Xu Zhen and Hans Ulrich Obrist. All the artworks here were related to human figures. It reminded me of Giovanni Panini's paintings, which name is a picture gallery with views of the modern Rome. I guess the way of the curator arranged these paintings was a metaphor of or recall of European salon tradition. That's the history of art museum. In the past 7 years since the opening of the Law Museum Westbound, many essential artists has held exhibitions here. This is Xu Zhen's solo exhibition, which is a Chinese contemporary artist. This is Oliver Eliasson's solo exhibition. The particular work in the hall is called the Open Pyramid. The museum was still under construction when Eliasson came to visit in 2013, and he decided to do an exhibition there soon afterwards. He reacted to this somehow Roman space with an Egyptian architecture. This is the Shanghai artist Ding Yi and Beijing artist Zhan Wang's work. They both made artwork specially for this space. This is an exhibition called 15 Rooms, curated by Hans Ur, Little Hans, and designed by Herzog de Meuron, the exhibition space. This is James Turrell's immersive light. And this is Shanghai artist Yang Fudong turned the museum into his film set in the left picture. On the right is the solo exhibition of Mark Bradford from Los Angeles. This is the left is the exhibition of Antony Gormley from England, and the right is the exhibition of Louis Boudreaux. And the other exhibition space shows the upper floor and the underground floor space. And Xu Zhen's exhibition in the underground floor exhibition space, and also the underground exhibition space. And this picture shows the activities of people inside and outside of the building. You can see how it works. And it has become one of the most important art and cultural space of Shanghai, and the public space of Shanghai. This is another project in Shanghai Modern Art Museum at Eastbound. It is also along the Hop River. It has a museum and an additional walkway. It was also a coal wharf, almost demolished completely when we start to design the museum. Under our suggestions, the client agreed to remain this original industrial structure, but the time, the roof and part of the walls has been removed already. It had to be pulled down because the existing structure could not meet the functional need for the new building. And it never came to the client that the enclosed hoppers could become exhibition space. We applied a huge roof truss on the top of the hum of the new structure to below, which formed the cantilever additional surrounding space. The existing structure is in red color, surrounded by the suspended structures and has increased exhibition space. The building has a brand new experience. Apart from the steel stairways on the left, we can barely find the old building. This suspended structure also add a shared exterior space to the building. Platforms and the corridors bring up a sense of publicity and landscape, which the former enclosed industrial buildings did not have. At far is the Shanghai Tower, the tallest high-rise in Shanghai. Whether the museum is open or not, people are able to walk by the building from one side to the other. When lights are on, we can see the old structure in the building. A brand new architecture has an old coal hopper at its core, covering the entrance hall of the building. The contrast between inside and outside is also unique to this architecture. Exhibitions can be held in between the and even inside the coal hoppers. These are the new stairs we put in. To the north of the museum are cafes and art shops transformed from the original coal channels. It is also a public park. These are the old coal channels. We attached a new and light steel structure onto the old frame structure, both stressing the existence of the old and forming a new entity. You can see the new structure and the old structure. The glass boxes suspended from the new steel beam straining are flexible retail spaces. On top of the roof is an elevated walkway. The retails under the walkway. The cafes and some the art shops. It is not only a part of the museum, but rather a part of the city. This is also a renovation project on the east side of the Huangpu River. It is known as the 80,000 ton silos for the grain storage, which was the largest one in Asia. It is also called Mingshen Valve. This is a picture before renewal. In 2017, the building was selected to serve as the main pavilion for Shanghai Urban Spatial Art Season, with a total height of 48 meters. The top and the bottom floors of the silos and all floors of service buildings were to be used for the exhibition. Thus, it has become the main issue to complete an entire visit circulation. It is also at the core of the design to open up the enclosed silos as a cultural space, but meanwhile, preserving the existing architectural features and its spatial characters are the preconditions. Eventually, we attached an elevator covered with glass onto the building, both completing the circulation and building up the public city between the silos and the Huangpu River, the landscape and the building. Visitors can appreciate the view from different heights throughout the lifting process. We also designed an out walkway leading to the second floor directly from the riverside, but unfortunately it has not been realized yet. This sloped walkway can lead visitors from the waterfront directly to the top of the building. The cantilevered glass escalator makes the warehouse vibrant again. This became a new spot to watch the riverside sunset. This is the exhibition hall on the ground floor. One silo was opened as a spiral sloped space to enter the top floor hall. The renovation only took five months. This is the Riverside Passat, just finished in 2019. It is also along the Huangpu River. The site used to be a gas factory wharf, also for coal transporting. There was a 90-meter long and 4-meter high concrete wall and some wild trees nearby. The wall was built to prevent the coal from falling into the water. Some trees grow from within the gap between the wharf and the flood control wall. It gives a sense of the wildness. There were actually two walls on the wharf. One of them had been broken down and left in the gap. As the wharf was abandoned later, the place turned into ruins left behind by the city. We hope to transform the place into a new urban space with its current atmosphere through a modest design. We applied a single-pitched roof onto the wall and defined a space on both sides. On one side is lower corridor related to a small-scale garden space in the gap. The other is a lift platform reacting to the large-scale riverscape. We named this place Bianyuan as the English name Riverside Passat. In Chinese, it also means a place a little bit far away from a French walkway. This is exploded astronometric drawings. During the discussion of the structural rationality of the eave dips, we realized that the wall across this single-pitched steel roof has a delicate structural force on the roof. Its impact on wind control makes the wall not just for a spatial enclosure. This is a bird view of the Riverside Passat, the wharf and the corridor. The ground on the wharf is polished into a skating rink. The new roof changed the rule of the wall and the space as well. but the character and atmosphere of the original space are still here. Water here may rise and fall once in a day. It's this rainy days of the wharf, the light under the wharf, the roof. This is a pavilion. It also can realized as a balcony or a corridor. This is a place where one can feel free to stay or passing by. It carries with the trace of urban infrastructures into a metropolis. You can see the old electrical factory in the far away. It becomes a place of landscape. You will find the duration of time here. This picture shows the garden in the gap. This is a view from above. You can see a slope, the entering slope, and the pavilion facing the river. The side facing the garden brings in a strong architectural figure due to this single pitched roof. This is the inner space in the gap garden. But in fact, it is just two parts of exterior space divided by a wall. This is the scape of the wilderness, a garden of ruins, a scape of ruins. Now, it is a riverfront place for wanderers, also for a flaneur. And at the last, I will show you play a video. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your invitation.
You're welcome. Thanks for your availability. This second meeting starts with the presentation of the Riverview service stations on the East Band, presented by Zhang Bin by Atelier Z+. Zhang Bin studied in Shanghai at the College of Architecture and Urban Planning of the Tongji University, where then he taught, becoming invited professor in 2012. He's closely connected to the school, both for his studies, but also for the project of Building C. Building C, that is the place where in these years we spent a lot of time during our workshop and visiting activities. Also the tab design workshop spent a lot of time in the building designed by Zhang Bin, that is one of the most important in the Tongji University campus.
Okay.
As declared in a recent interview, in China, they don't usually have a chance to make buildings for the true need of the users. And most of the time, architecture, according with our guest, is just for promotional operations. For this reason, the work developed by Atelier Z+ differs a little from what the client asks and requires, fostering in this way an experimentation about the ways for making the spaces user-friendly and to enhance the quality of the life of people. I think that this is what we find in the buildings that they completed, the many buildings they completed in these years, above all in Shanghai. Among them, the new Band School, the Champion Center, that is an office and commercial building, the Building C itself at the Tongji University that I mentioned before, a project that can be comprehended, in my opinion, first of all, from the very articulated section that it has, and shows the sensibility to all the scales of the project, with very refined details, both in the design of the facade, but also in the interior spaces that are very well deepened. This aspect is also what we meet in the project of the Riverview service stations that interpret, on the one hand, the attention devoted to the theme of the riverfront, that from these structures had benefits in terms of attractivity, accommodating different users all day long. And on the other hand, the attention towards the human dimension in the design of the public spaces. In a city, Shanghai, that very often, we must not forget, attracts the attention for the realization of the bigness of its buildings, starting from the new skyline of Lujiazui and of infrastructures. So I think that this attention to the small scale in a city of very big objects. Now I was thinking that the bigness in Shanghai is not only the new skyline of Lujiazui, but also the bigness of this operation of requalification of the public spaces. You have a vertical bigness and an horizontal bigness, I can say, because the operation is probably one of the widest in the world, also considering the projects we are going to talk today and in the next event it's a very huge operation of giving back the citizens the spaces on the river. So thanks again for your participation to Mantova Architettura. And if you are just ready, we can start with your lecture.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your invitation. Today, my lecture, the topic is about the everyday life infrastructure in case of the Riverview service station as eastbound. From 2016, the municipality of the Shanghai organized a very huge public space organization. It's called Huangpu Riverside Public Space Connection. We can see from the north to the south across the center of Shanghai, the distance is about 22 kilometers on each side of the riverfront. There's both sides is almost about 22 kilometers. Now our service station is located under the eastbound on Pudong district. For this kind of very huge space connection, perhaps the topic is how to integrate with topography and the landscape and work as a dynamic public space that support everyday life. And we hope they can encourage the free use of space by public and also stimulate the occurrence of events and the interaction of communities and enhance the experience of the Huangpu River. So from the macro scale, this kind of landscape infrastructure could reshape the urban publicity and the landscape environment characteristic. And from the micro scale, this kind of landscape infrastructure can provide support and service to the community in their daily activities. If we talk about the infrastructure, traditional infrastructure, it's almost always look like monotonous, hidden, aloof, and awful. But if we talk about the landscape infrastructure, it always look like daily, public, integrated, and vivid. So in our project of this small service station, it's related to the Riverside space connection and the infrastructure and the everyday life. And also we make a post-occupants investigation to see how people use it. So it's a small case about the architecture as infrastructure. There's a 5 characters of this operation. The first is the topography. It's about how to inform of space that consisted of landscape, architecture, and the structure. And how to construct a miniature space and the surface form, and how to create, generate new landscape and geography features. And also we think about how to reconstruct the riverside space connecting and how to form different space body relationships. The second topic is the boundary space, because the riverfront is a very nice kind of boundary space. This kind of space also always simulates occurrence of events and interaction of communities. And the third topic is about how to think about the infrastructure as city catalyst. And we think this kind of infrastructure should from necessity into tolls affect the urban logistic form and the way of colonization. And if we talk about the city catalyst, in this kind of small space, people use it very freely. And also, this kind of small building, we think as the many spheres of scenery. We try to explore the relationship between architecture and the landscape, and also to think about the microsite and the macro public space, and also to provide support to the people, and to enhance the characteristic of the site itself. We try to encourage the free use of public space and try to enhance the experience of the river to simulate the occurrence of events, interact, and the communities. And we want to multiply the social effects. The third topic is about the urban tales and the everyday life. We want all this kind of service station to form a dynamic public space to support everyday life. We also encourage the free use of this space, and also to let people to understand the experience of the river front, and to understand how to understand the micro space and the very big macro space, and also to simulate the different events. The fifth topic is about rapid construction, because we should finish it very quickly. So we feature a steel wood mixed structure with polywood structure as the main structure, realize the quality control of super fast construction. And we want to collaborate with this kind of industry system to control, to make a balance between the speed and the quality. This shows the whole construction way of these small buildings. And also this kind of image, we can show the true structure of this building. It's a mixed structure about steel and timber. And also because the total design and the construction period of about 20 stations is just only 100 days. It's almost impossible to complete the project with conventional design and construction procedures. So we feature this kind of systems. And another thing is the wood structure provided wooden materials suggest safety and the comfort of the interior space. We want to make this very friendly intimate sphere. About this project, we through about 3 phases. The one phase just like a sample of this series of service station. Now we call it number 5 station. From the beginning of the design and to the opening, it's just less than 45 days. The location is the yellow triangle show the location. It's the finished image. There's used to be an entrance of the parking, underground parking. And we around this staircase to make a a small building for the service station. This is the section about this building. You can see the main part is about the structure of parking, and another part is just under the site. And after the first like a mock-up of this series building, the second phase is 20 station, about 100 days. You can see the location about this 22 station, about each one, the distance of each one about 1 kilometer. And the very important thing is because of the because we should to finish it very quickly, the building could be a typical type on different sites. The difficulty is how to make the building above the site almost always the same, and how to reorganize the site organization. So we make different type of site, level, and the foundation to reorganize this kind of system. In this plan, you can see all the different type of these three different things, like level, site, and foundation. So about this kind of operation, we can make the building always the same. This is the plan of the second phase. It looks like a little bit bigger than the first phase. And the section. And also you can see the different scale of the under eave space around this building. It could provide different use type of people. From this image, it's a very interesting image. It's the opening day of the #1 station in the summer. You can see this kind of condition of people. It's like a small shock for me. It's sure that in Shanghai, this kind of public space is very necessary for the people. So we talk about the station, like we want to feature the free use of subjectivity, and also it's provide a different space in the city because it's freely, it's not commercial space. And the third phase is a kind of kiosk. It's like a small version of this station. We finished it. We started before the pandemic and finished it during the pandemic. The location is about to the left side, 3 point. It's like you know, add every between 2 big service stations, we add 1 small kiosk. It's look like around the Riverside. The type is quite same with the big station, but we cancel the inner space room. We just keep a very small toilet and a kiosk space for the people. This is the plan of this kiosk station. Also the toilet is a mini version. The section. And after the construction, because we finished very fast, so we think about how to observe the use of this different station. So we make a post-occupancy investigation with the participation of the cleaners, because every station have their cleaners. All these cleaners is a quite young female. They very like this space. We find they often post their video in the social media like TikTok and WeChat, very popular in China. So my colleague to try to connect with 18 cleaners in different stations to make investigation. We asked them to give us the video in different time to show how people use it. So this kind of investigation, the main aim is to talk about the publicness, how from the early prediction and from the design strategy, and how to observe it through this investigation to understand this kind of publicness in Shanghai. This is a different video in different station, like a material for the investigation in different time, or in same time in different station. After this material, we make some kind of analysis, like use numbers per hours, like usage features of cluster analysis, to make two kind of type. One type is individual relax station. Another type is public event gathering station. The type B always located on the very central space. The type A perhaps a little far away from the center. And also different analysis of usage feature, like individuals, static or dynamic, multi-users dynamic, and different ways and their image. And also for the public gathering station, we can see the different ways of different time. Also, this the individual relax station. And we can see from the typical table from one station to show the numbers, the people's spatial distribution, and the number of users per hours. Also, when all these stations open, after the openness, the government want to make some operation pilot, like the some showcase of this, how to use it. So you can see three type of operation pilot. The number one station make like a reading room for the peoples. And the number two station add some things like technology exhibition rooms. The number three station, they run it like a cultural live stream rooms to invite very famous people to talk about the topic, always online and offline together. So you can see this kind of operation, like a public space operation, the implementation of online and offline, and also to make the sense of community in place. So if we talk about all this kind of all these 22 station and 3 kiosk, we can see this kind of space is a non-consumption and independent urban public space with some kind of Shanghai-ness. In this station, we find the citizens' subject consciousness and the public awareness and the participation. Also the pluralistic juxtaposition, inclusive and open modernity. It's very interesting for us to, through this investigation, to understand this kind of situation about the space, about the people, and about how they run together. So that's all. Thank you very much. We showed you a small video about this station.
Yes, thanks.
It's a Chinese version. You just ignore the Chinese and to see the image.
通过两岸贯通，上海真正拥有了一个融为一体的两岸的世界级的水岸空间，而且这个空间是完全开放给市民的。这22个望江驿其实是提供了一个可以停留的一系列的点，它可以和周边的城市环境发生一些关联。如何形成一个有吸引力的空间整体，那么其实是需要我们设计去回答。 江是永远可以被感受到的，这个也是所有的望江驿在不同的选点内在的支点。我们望江驿选择一个钢木结构，主要表现出来的是一个木结构。 钢呢是我们用在支撑体系上，但是你会一路眼看到的是一个全木结构的屋顶。在设计之初也和木结构的施工方呢探讨过，在这么短时间里面，你有怎么样的可能性来做到一些不同的空间表现？施工方的回答就是说，你只要不要做曲线构件，保证构件都是直线。所以呢，我们就做了一个直纹曲面的设计，它保证所有的领条都是直线，但是它整体是一个有变化的屋面。 那么这个变化也是和我们整个望江驿背江一侧、面江一侧的这种空间关系是相对应的。卫生间和休息之间的连廊当中呢，领条的汇聚点的位置上做了个三角天窗，让这个室内的内部呢是能够明亮出来。它的空间尺度是近人的，是一种日常尺度，有一些居家的氛围。木结构的完成面，人的体验会比较轻松，也比较宜人。 公共卫生间、公共休息室，在两者之间呢，我们创造了一个小小的通廊。这条通廊是垂直于江的，穿越这个通廊的时候呢，是可以体验到风景对江的打开。穿过这个走廊之后呢，就会来到一个面江的廊下空间。那么江景有近有远，有高有低，但是呢，它都会是可以感受到这个望江驿所在的这个小小的环境点上的一些环境潜力。 滨江贯通工程其实就是迈向全球作业城市的一个非常重要的一个空间再造的载体。上海这样的城市在进一步的发展当中，对于公共空间的品质，对于城市基础设施的品质，对于这些空间和设施和人的亲密性的关联度上的一种重视，或者说去创造一种有温度的公共建筑。那么这个呢，我觉得都是望江驿这个项目对我们在设计上 的一些启示。
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Also, in this case, very interesting and for some parts complementary to the first one. also this, I think, also seeing these two series of projects together, let us understand that actually the project of the Riverfront in Shanghai is made both by singular elements, the museums that we saw before that are only one with its specificities, but also it is made by a layer, the layer of these kiosks, service stations that represent probably the element of continuity, of also visual and functional continuity in the riverfront. It is the element of reconnection, because in a space that is made by different episodes of very high quality, as the ones that we saw in the presentation by Liu Yichuan, here we have instead a layer that represents the red thread that connects these spaces. So it is very interesting. I was wondering, considering also your other works, besides the ones that I mentioned at the beginning, the choice of wood in this case, because you have different experimentations, you work with different materials. I was wondering what kind of advantages did it give from properly the construction phase, not only the use phase when we know, as you underlined, you have more comfortable spaces, warmer interiors, but also for the construction phase in structures like these ones.
Okay, because in the very beginning of this project, we know we should finish it very quickly. By example, the first phase, the first make a mock-up of the one station, the construction period is about 25 days. And the second phase, the 20 station, for each one, from the construction and to the opening days, each one is about 18 days for the construction. So in this kind of conditions, in the very beginning of design, we should introduce a system how to balance the speed and the quality. So we knew the timber structure could make this kind of things in this kind of condition. Also, when we do this design, we discuss with the factory to ask them how is the limit of the forms to finish in this kind of short time. So they told us, you just use line element, not use curve element. The thing is possible. So we make this kind of design like this. So this design is a collaboration between architect and the industry system. So thank you.